Today, we're diving into the heart of Japan's political system, the National Diet. Now, this is a place where ancient traditions, think samurai code, smash right into the high-stakes world of 21st century global politics. And believe me, that mix creates something you won't find anywhere else.
So this brings us to the big puzzle we're going to try and solve. How does a nation, a country, so deeply rooted in ancient tradition, manage to run one of the world's most advanced modern democracies? It's a fascinating question, right? Okay, let's dig in.
All right, first things first. Before we can get into all the cultural stuff, we have to know the basics. What exactly is the National Diet?
To put it simply, the National Diet is Japan's parliament, and that word, bicameral, just means it has two houses or two chambers. But here's the key. Its role is absolutely crucial. The Constitution literally calls it the highest organ of state power and the only body in the entire country that can actually make the law.
Now, this is the part I find really cool, where it came from. The Diet wasn't just a carbon copy of the US Congress or the British Parliament. Nope, it was created during the Meiji Restoration, this incredible period of rapid modernization. And it was specifically designed from the ground up to fuse Western democratic ideas with Japan's own unique cultural traditions. That intentional blend of old and new, that is the key to understanding everything about how it still works today.
So we know it has two houses, but how does that structure actually work in practice? To figure that out, we need to pop the hood and take a look at the two legislative houses that make up the Diet.
Okay, think of it this way. The House of Representatives is kind of like the government's gas pedal. It's built for speed, for making faster decisions and responding to what the public wants right now. And then you have the House of Councillors, which is the brake. With its members serving longer terms, its job is to provide stability, to slow things down, and make sure every decision gets a really careful second look. It's a classic system of checks and balances. So, the more powerful House of Representatives, the gas pedal, has 465 members. Their terms are shorter, only 4 years max, so they have to face the voters a lot more often. And that's by design. It keeps them really closely connected to the will of the people at any given moment.
Now contrast that with the House of Councillors. It's smaller, with 245 members, and they serve longer, 6-year terms. The whole idea here is to create a stabilizing force, a chamber that's a little more protected from those quick shifts in public opinion, so it can take a more long-term view on things.
But here's the thing. Rules and numbers and structures, they only tell you half the story. To really get what makes the National Diet tick, you have to look at the invisible stuff, the forces shaping everything behind the scenes, and that is Japanese culture itself.
You can see these cultural values playing out everywhere. There's this massive emphasis on wa, which is the idea of group harmony and consensus. It's not always about winning at all costs. You also see echoes of the old samurai ethos, this deep-seated idea of selfless public service as a noble duty. And all of this leads to a real sense of respect and decorum in debates, which you can see in the simple act of bowing to acknowledge a colleague's point. This quote just nails it. You know, in many Western systems, the main goal is to fight it out and win the vote. But in Japan, the process of building agreement and making sure the group stays harmonious, that's often seen as just as important as the final outcome. It's a fundamentally different way of thinking about politics. Okay, but let's be real. A system that's built on harmony and tradition can't just be smooth sailing all the time. I mean, how does it handle the messy, real-world friction of modern politics? Well, let's look at some of the major tensions Japan is dealing with right now.
Japan is navigating some seriously choppy waters at the moment. Recent elections have really shaken up the political landscape, and there are these intense debates happening over huge topics, like potentially changing the constitution and completely rethinking Japan's place in global security. These are issues that challenge the very core of the country's post-war identity.
And that leads us to one of the most critical, high-stakes debates facing Japan today. There's a big push for a stronger military. People who support it say, look, this is just necessary self-defense in a really tough neighborhood. But those who oppose it see it as a very dangerous break from the pacifist principles that have defined the nation for more than 75 years. It's a debate that gets to the very heart of what Japan is and what it wants to be.
So, after all that, where does this leave us? Well, as we start to wrap things up, it's pretty clear that the story of the National Diet is really a story about the constant tug-of-war between the past and the future.
When you get right down to it, Japan's political system isn't some static thing set in stone. It's a living, breathing, balancing act. Imagine a tightrope walker.
On one side, they're balancing this incredibly rich cultural heritage that prizes harmony and tradition. And on the other side, they're dealing with the relentless pressures of a chaotic and unpredictable modern world.
And that leaves us with one final, massive question to think about. As global challenges get bigger and more complex, will these deep-rooted traditions be the anchor that gives Japan stability and strength? Or will they become an obstacle, something that holds it back and stops it from adapting? That right there is the question that's going to define Japan's future.